Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Thursday, August 20th. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined with my partner in crime here, Mr. Andrew Hansen. Andrew, are you as happy as I am tonight after this wonderful Dallas Mavericks victory?
Well, that's part of what makes me happy. I'm happy how the games played out. We gave out a cash lineup and a GPP lineup on FanDuel for our members. Both of them cashed again. So really, that's about all that matters.
It is, and the bonus fantasy draft one cashed pretty well, and across the board we just smashed it again, and we did that in both basketball and baseball, so that's even more exciting. So it's been a fun day and a sports-filled day. I know we had the PGA podcast earlier. We posted all that information. Our man Freddie Mills has some great info that we were able to put some PGA content. So hopefully everybody's set for that. And then today, NBA, great action again. Mavericks coming out though and just dominating from start to finish, never trailed. Really impressive. It was great to see. I mean, all of these series are amazing. Like, look at the Bucks. The Bucks have to win tomorrow. They don't want to go down 0-2. So I mean, this is exciting basketball. I think what's happening, what the trend that I see a little bit here is this neutral floor is bringing it a little bit more neutral. In other words, it's all the teams having to adjust and no crowd and not playing at home. I think what it's doing is neutralizing the field a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I mean, let the best team win. We
Yep.
don't need to worry about home court advantage, traveling, biased refs for, in a certain location. It's just roll it out there and let's see who's got the most talent right now.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you what, the level of basketball is pretty darn good considering a lot of these guys, with everybody else sat out for 3.5, 4 months. So it's been fantastic. It really has. We're going to dive right into this because we have, obviously, like we have every day, is that 4-game slate with the games spread out, and it's fantastic. It makes for extremely fun basketball watching day, no doubt about it. But I want to real quickly mention our presenting sponsors. It is, mybookie.ag. It is the place to go for all of your sports wagering and casino action. And if you go to our website at dfscoachtalk.com or through mybookie.ag and sign up, they will match up to $1,000 in your first deposit. And all you need to do is use the promo code Coach Talk, all one word, no space. And also tvg.com. It is where the world goes to watch horse racing and wager on horse racing. You can go to our website at dfscoachtalk.com, click on the banner that says risk-free $300 bet, and that's exactly what TVG will back up. You are a first-time depositor and bet $300 on a horse, you lose, they will refund every penny. So give them a whirl. It is a great shot at winning some good money and building a bankroll. All right, if you're watching us on YouTube, as we jump into this, please take a second, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and also click the little clock alarm button there that gives you an alert when we're posting a new podcast. And obviously, like today, we had one go up mid-evening, I should say, with PGA. And now we have this one going up in the middle of the night, basically. But you still want to have that notification when you get up if, you're going to listen on the way to work or, throughout your day. But it is important to us, and we really appreciate the fact that you take a minute and hit that thumbs up. Also, if you're listening to us on the audio version of our podcast, please go to iTunes, 5 stars and a quick comment on the broadcast, and you will be put into a drawing at the end of August for a free 1-month membership to Coach Talk. And we do really appreciate it. We bring these all of these podcasts in front of the paywall, free to you here. And it is important for us to, really meet those algorithms with everything and get the likes and the subscribers and, comments. Those things are really going to help us grow. And our goal is to do this in front of the paywall forever. So, but it is important that we get, some growth in people subscribing and taking that extra step. So I wanted to mention that at the jump. All right, here we go. We've got 4 great games. I'm going to go through our little injury list to begin with, just to touch on a few things so that we can take note when we go over each game. Luguentz Dort from Oklahoma City is still out, and that's a big thing for the Thunder because he plays an important role for them. Jay Crowder, who was disappointing for us when we rostered him the other day, is questionable. So he has a sprained ankle. Definitely part of the reason maybe he let us down a little bit last time. But that will open up some minutes. So we got to keep a very close eye on that. And guess what? You wouldn't believe it. Anthony Davis is on this list.
Oh,
can you believe this?
Shocker.
It is 6 straight years. But he and LeBron are both listed as probable. I have no idea why they just even list them. They keep, it's like a joke. Zach Collins is still out. He's was diagnosed with a stress reaction to his left ankle and won't be evaluated for another week. So that does change things. I was so fired up this last time because I was calling for the, play Nurkic and Whiteside next to each other, and Stotts actually did it, and it worked. They played really well. So I think that you'll see a lot of that in replacement for Collins. And then, your youngster Gabriel will get some minutes, and, they'll rotate a few other guys. But for right now, it's looking like we're going to get that Nurkic-Whiteside duo, at least in this series, to match up with McGee and Davis. So let's, keep an eye on that one. Rondo made the list. He's actually listed as questionable. I had no idea that he was going to be back until I read this earlier today. I thought he was done for the bubble, but he's actually been medically cleared with that wrist and is questionable. So again, that changes the rotation of some of the people off the bench like Caruso, Waiters, etc. So another thing we have to keep an eye on. Big news will be Victor Oladipo. He's also questionable, and that definitely affects that Indiana rotation. Michael Carter-Williams remains out for the Magic, and Aaron Gordon has been upgraded to questionable. So there's a chance we may get to see him, which could affect Gary Clark and James Ennis, some of the guys that have been picking up the slack. So that's sort of the look, at least for now. Again, early look at it, and important tomorrow. Follow us throughout the day. We're doing this really in the middle of the night, basically. But as morning comes around, follow us on Twitter and jump in our Discord with us. You do that by becoming a member for a week, month, year, whatever you feel comfortable with at dfscoachtalk.com. And that's where we will continue to post all this information, player news, injuries, the whole 9 yards. And then we'll also be supplying 30 minutes before lock a complete FanDuel lineup, a complete fantasy draft lineup, and then our famous coach's clipboard, which gives you a good base of a player pool for DraftKings with a highlighted core. So that is what we're looking forward to. All right, I got to get to you because you're the guy with all the smarts here. You're the Ivy League man, and I'm just a Division II scrap iron. So you know how it goes.
But you're a coach with experience.
Yeah, I guess. The experience just means you're old, I guess. But All right, let's attack this. We're going to go to mybookie.ag for the updated lines. The first game is the Miami Heat and Indiana Pacers, a really interesting series. Both sides don't like each other. We've mentioned that multiple times, but you can see Butler and TJ Warren, the whole 9 yards there. They're not liking each other whatsoever. Now, here's the big question I have, and then I'll let you dissect this. It is by far the lowest total on the board. It's at 215, and the next lowest is 227 of the 4 games. So my question to you as you break this down, yes, it's a 4-point favorite for the Heat, so it's a pretty tight spread, but does that 215 number scare you? And is that going to affect how you roster this game?
Well, I think, we have enough experience with these teams throughout the year to have a sense of the pace and the expected scoring total. So I don't really need to hear the total to be shying away from it. Of course, will just come down to price. I mean, if they made these guys extremely cheap, then I might want to play more of them. But this isn't a game that I want to stack. For sure, it's more of a one guy here, maybe 2 guys there. On the Indiana side, certainly everything depends on Oladipo, whether he's in or out. Then all of a sudden you might look at a value play like a TJ McConnell or one of the Holiday brothers. So we'll wait on that news. Without that news, I'm not ready to play anybody from Indiana because of Miami's defense. And of course, that's part of the low total that we have.
Right.
But I will get some exposure to Miami. Butler is still the guy here that I think is a great choice to get a 50-point fantasy night. He's playing well. He's motivated. So I'll go back to him again like we did in game 1. And Goran Dragic, he was vastly underpriced at 4.4 on DraftKings in game 1. We locked him in. It was a terrific play. And now they've priced him up significantly. All of a sudden they said, okay, well, Goran is starting. Times have changed here. So they've got him up 1,500 to 5,900 on DraftKings.
The party's
and now,
over, huh?
Well, it's not a party anymore, but it's something to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, this is more the price that you would get, if you just turn the clock back a year and he's the starter. And you start to think about, well, can he get me 35 fantasy points, and I think he can. So he's going to be in my player pool again. Bam is still a nice price, but I still prefer Butler a little bit. And then we'll wait for the news on Jay Crowder to see if any other value pops up.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's interesting that the price shifts, and we said this 2 days ago. We said, listen each day because everything's going to change so dramatically with guys that are out and the price differentiation. Now, if you look, we'll use DraftKings as an example here. If you look at the highest priced guys from this game, you've got TJ Warren at 8,100, which is pretty high. I know he's done fantastic in the bubble, but he's still not 100% either. He's a little dinged up. So that's fairly pricey. Butler's 7,900 and Bam is 7,500. And then you have Brogdon, it's up to 6,900 now. He was another guy that was a value, and Turner right behind him hit with 6,800. So, those prices really worry me in a matchup that I think is going to be, yes, hard fought, but I think it's going to have a defensive tilt to it. So, I have more of a feeling to go look for a little bit of value here to start out. And I don't know if this is certainly not as good a value as he was. I mean, he was way down there. But Tyler Hero is playing a pretty big role for the Heat. Now, with Dragic starting, Hero's sort of taken Dragic's role of being the spark plug off the bench. And, he's up to 5,200 on DraftKings, which I remember only paying 38 for him not that long ago. But, he's a spark and his price is good. FanDuel is where I really like him at 4,600. I think he's just a shoe-in guy to come off the bench and be a big contributor He's done it in consecutive games now, and they're going to him with the rotation that Spoelstra's been using, and I think he deserves a look-see. If Oladipo sits, then I think we got to take a look at maybe another value play on the other side, whether it be a Justin Holiday or someone of that nature. So I'm not going to go spend bucks on this game when I think it's going to be a lockdown game. But I would love to be able to squeeze a couple of value plays out of this to set up to be able to roster some big money guys in the other 3 games.
Yeah, and the one other thing I'll say is, speaking of DraftKings versus FanDuel, I do agree. I mean, Hero is a wonderful price on FanDuel. The unfortunate thing is Butler also plays shooting guard over there, and James Harden is a shooting guard who I'd like to play. So it'll be a tough decision there. But with Dragic, I think I am much more likely to play him on FanDuel also. At 5.9 on DraftKings, I'm feeling a little bit more like a Stars and Scrubs approach over there. And with the roster format and the pricing on this slate on FanDuel, I think there's much more of a chance that I'll fit him into the point guard spot where there aren't a ton of choices. So Dragic and Hero for me, both more likely to play on FanDuel.
All right, let's roll on to game 2. It is the 3:30 game Eastern. I have the Central times here at 2:30. It is a great series as well. This is gonna be a fun series, I think. Rockets and Thunder. Rockets are a 2.5-point favorite, and all 3 of these last games are very, very close. All high totals. This one is 227. Old comedy series I used to watch back in the day. Probably don't remember that, do you?
I don't.
Yeah, if we have any old time listeners, they'll remember 227. It was a great show. All right, the question I have for you: Westbrook wasn't even on that injury report. Is he clear?
No, he's out.
He's not playing?
Not playing.
Okay. What is the time frame for him? Because I have not read anything today about Russell Westbrook.
I want to say the last time I saw it was a week or so.
Okay. All right. We'll dig into that and find out, but we know he's out tomorrow. He wasn't on that list though. I wonder why. They're messing up. Yeah, he's not on my list here. That's okay. So I guess, it doesn't, a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, so you don't have to be a blind squirrel to roster James Harden here. I mean, with Westbrook out, yeah, it's plug and play. The guy just controls the entire game. I think you just have to eat the chalk. He was super high owned in the first game. I'm sure that he will be again in this game, and deservedly so. He's a tough matchup for anybody. I think that he is definitely, the guy that you have to look at. So I guess you start there and run with it. So what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to start there and run with it. He's really in that Luka category where he went for 37, 11, and 3, and he's sort of really on the borderline of hitting value. He just has to have a monster game with that price tag. So, in my primary build, I'll have him. I mentioned the Stars and Scrubs approach on DraftKings because there are a few value guys that I like.
Yeah.
But I will play a lineup or 2 without him, just in case. Because that's about as high as you can get at almost 12,000. So after that, it is a huge number. After that, I do like playing Eric Gordon here again. 17 shots as a starter, and he's under 5K on DraftKings where you get the 3-point bonus.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me. In terms of value players for Houston, Jeff Green was excellent, aggressive, kind of doing it all, sort of playing more like Covington. But Covington is out of sorts. He only took 6 shots.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him in this last game.
Yeah, strange. Steven Adams got the best of him, and we had some exposure to Steven Adams. And
yeah,
I'll
get going back to that well.
Yeah, I'll go back to that well. I think it makes more sense on FanDuel. These middle prices just aren't working for me in my primary build on DraftKings. So I like him a little bit more on FanDuel. And then CP3, I'll go back to him. You know, he got up for this matchup, played well. Shooter and Shea didn't do much, didn't shoot much. Gallo played well, but I don't trust that he's going to actually pay off value in a GPP. So for me, it's mostly CP3 and Adams, Harden, Gordon, maybe a little Jeff Green. So I do like this game. So I'll get a decent amount of exposure to it.
Interesting. You know, there are some players in this game that are a head scratcher for me. I think that again, I'll make Harden a base play for me. The guy that I'm with you though, 100%. I love the value play of Eric Gordon. He's a great player, man. When he's playing well and with confidence, they go to him. I mean, he's a go-to veteran in this league that's been around a long time. I don't. This will go back a while. Do you remember when the Pelicans tried to trade Chris Paul?
Oh yeah, like it was yesterday.
They tried to trade him to LA, and Eric Gordon was the guy that was in that trade, and the commissioner shot it down. So pretty bizarre that it's come back around like this, and here they are battling each other. That was a long time back, but. Eric Gordon is tough. I love him. I think he's a great play. He'll probably be pretty popular because they didn't raise his price as they should have. I think he's really a second banana to Harden with Westbrook out. So I really like him. I agree with what you said on Covington. I can't figure it out. I thought he'd be really good in this series, but I don't trust him. All the other guys play a role, and it's just hard for me to go in any of those directions. There, I know they play decent minutes, but I think I'm going to end my with two guys from the Houston side. On the other side of the ball, I'll tell you what mystifies me is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander looks awful. I don't know if it's he's not used to being in this situation. He's never really been in a playoff run where he's a key guy, but he just looks out of sorts. I really think I'm going to consider Adams. You really touted him last time, and he did take advantage of that non-center aspect for the Rockets. The Rockets are not going to change at all what they're doing. So that means, if I'm Donovan, I go to Adams in the paint, even if Noel, gives him, a lot of rest. The only thing that scares me is Nerlens got in foul trouble the last game, and it got actually some extra minutes for Adams on the floor. But again, if Donovan is going to use Adams as a key component and strategically in this game, he could go for 20 and 15. I mean, it's possible. So Adams, I'm going to give a good long look at. But as far as anybody else, I was looking this last game, and they sort of did it by committee. It was a little bit of Baisley, a little bit of Ferguson, Gallo and stretches did okay. But I'm not really high on the way the Thunder are playing, and mainly because of Shea, but I think they're a little overmatched here against Houston right now. And certainly Chris Paul, the vendetta against, the not ending things well with the Rockets. That's all there. He's a veteran. He's going to step up, but he is awfully expensive. So, there's got to be some give one way or the other with what you do here. But he's all the way up to 8,200. And that's, he was in the high sixes most of the year. So I'm not going to go there and stretch the money that far, especially with having to pay, these silly prices, 11.7 and 11.8 for Harden. So that's about where I sit on this one.
Yeah, I hear you. I think Chris Paul is more of a secondary lineup for me, not in the primary build.
All right, man, we go on to game 3. MyBookie.ag has this game, the 6 p.m. Eastern game. A really intriguing game and an important one for Milwaukee. The Bucks and Magic, and Vegas thinks that that last game was a complete fluke because they have the Bucks a 12.5 point favorite, and this is 227.5 on the over under. So what do you think here? Does Milwaukee wake up and lay it to them, or are they just not playing that well? And will this stay a game? Because that has to do a lot with the minutes played.
It does. It does. I think they'll wake up and win. Um, it's hard to predict. It's funny that you lose by 12 and then you're favored by 12. But I guess that's what happens when you're the number one seed.
Yeah.
But even if the players in this game that are most attractive to me are the value plays, and I don't think it's going to matter too much if it stays close because it's the value plays from Orlando, and it just depends on Gordon. If he's out, then I'm interested in Ennis and Clark again. They priced Ennis up to 4K on DraftKings, but if he plays like he did last game, he can still pay off value. And same thing with Gary Clark. They didn't price him up. He's still only 3.3, and he attempted 12 three-pointers last game.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, what else do you want for a guy that's 3.3 who can also rebound? Yeah. I think it's a terrific situation. I'm surprised he's not more expensive. So I hope Gordon doesn't play because I'd like to get Clark back out there.
I repeat exactly what you say. I mean, if Gordon doesn't play, I don't think you can afford not to play a $3,300 Clark. I mean, 12 three attempts, even if he takes half that, if he takes 6 threes at 3,300, I mean, you just can't beat it. Yeah. So I think you're right on the money. I'll tell you the dilemma I'm going to have, and I haven't made the decision yet, but Vuk absolutely crushed it for me in that first game. And it's hard not to want to go back to him again. He's 8,300. I know that's a little pricey, but it's not ridiculous. I think he's the best center on the slate. I really do. And, it becomes difficult with Harden and Vuk, but if I'm going to get, a lower price Clark and Hero and some of these guys, maybe we can give that a roll. I'm leaning towards Vuk again. He's so tough, man. He just does it all. He hits threes, he gets it done, and he's there. Without Gordon playing, I really feel like I have to play Vukovic. In a cash games, I don't want to give, if he's going to have 55 to 58 fantasy points, and I got to try to catch him with an Adams or another center, that's rough in a cash game. So, again, it's the Gordon news that makes a difference. I am leaning towards Vuk and Clark if Gordon doesn't play. If Gordon does somehow get ruled in, I'll probably shy from both of them, actually. And really, to me, no one else is rosterable. I don't think Fournier's even close to 100%. You have, Fultz and Augustine splitting time at the point, and just a different group off the bench. So, it all is news dependent on Gordon, but I think, a couple of Orlando guys are playable. Now, I know it's a 12.5 point spread, and I know Milwaukee's going to come out super focused, but they're just not playing great ball. So, my gut feeling is, I don't think Orlando wins the game, but I think they at least stay within shouting distance most of this game to allow for the big minutes. So, that's how I feel on that side. On the Milwaukee side, they're just also priced up. I know that Giannis is the best DFS player like in the history of the world, but the fact that if you're gonna take Harden, I don't see how on earth you can take Giannis. So you got to sort of make the decision on those two guys. If you do, you're going to be really dumpster diving to try to fill out a roster. I guess it could be done, but that's going to be tough. Giannis is not shooting the ball well from outside, not shooting it well from the line, but he'll still have probably his 65, 70 fantasy points. But you know what? that's only like 6x. I mean, I guess you got to get the exact same thing from Harden or a little
Right.
more. So you could make an excuse for either one. I
Yep.
mean, if you told me you were going to play one or the other, I could buy that. It's just with Westbrook being out, it elevates Harden to me to a better situation than Giannis. So, you may need to have Giannis to be on a winning, GPP lineup as your core guy. I don't know. But the other guys, Middleton is expensive, too expensive for me. I don't think Bledsoe is worth his salary either. Brook Lopez had a really bad game the last time out, and he's a guy that can definitely score for you. But we already talked about Vuk and Adams. You can't really play a bunch of centers now. I will play a lineup on Fantasy Draft where I put all those big guys in there. So there are some sites you can play some contests with multiple big guys, but the main, DraftKings and FanDuel, you're going to have to make a decision there. So I don't know why, and it's probably not right. So talk sense into me, but I might not roster any Milwaukee players. Am I crazy?
No, for me, it's some exposure to Giannis. I think he's going to be extra motivated after the loss, and he might just come out and get 70 fantasy points plus, and he is 500 cheaper than Harden on FanDuel.
True.
I'm with you. I don't know how you can get both, but it's a lot closer decision for me. Last time I felt a lot stronger about Harden in game one, but
Yeah.
now I'm much more open to Giannis on this slate. But other than that, on Milwaukee, I don't like much. George Hill. It surprised me that he got 26 minutes and Dante DiVincenzo only got 12.
Yeah.
So, George Hill is a value play. If they're going to rely on him in the playoffs as a veteran to step up, guy is just a great shooter, so efficient. So I do like him, especially if he's one of these guys just to fill out your roster. And then one more thing on Orlando, with Vucevic, I just think it's hard to expect that he's going to get 55 fantasy points again. And I know that Adams could bust also, but I guess that's just the way I'm leaning is, cheaper on center so I can get another guy in my lineup like Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of different builds. There's no question about it, and there's some big decisions that you have to make for sure. But yeah, I mean, this will be a high-scoring game. I hate to not have exposure on both sides, but they're playing a lot of guys too.
Yep.
And it's hard to really zone in, on anybody but Giannis really on that
Yep.
team.
I agree.
And then that changes your entire build. So. All right, let's see where we go from here. We've got game 4. Or no, yeah, this is it. This is the end of the line. It is, believe it or not, the Portland Trailblazers and Los Angeles Lakers. And if you remember, I said last time, this line sounds fishy. I think Vegas wants you to bet the Lakers because it looks small, and it's still pretty small. It's Lakers by 6.5, and the over-under is 229. So it is the highest. I shied away from this game and was able to hang on and cash, but there's nothing more painful than watching all these, these buckets and stuff going on when you're trying to desperately hang on points wise. This is just such a great game, and such great players on both sides beyond Dame, AD, and LeBron. I mean, this game is wide open, I think. And I'm interested to hear your complete take on it, but I just don't know how you don't use multiple guys in this game, in this scenario where LA has to win and Portland is just red hot.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking forward to this one because it's going to be great to see how the Lakers respond. You talk about all those great players out on the court, and it just felt like more of them were on Portland. They're just a short rotation with a lot of talent. As Shane and I talked about in the last podcast, the Lakers are a little bit disappointing right now outside of LeBron and AD. So, I'd be concerned if I'm a Lakers fan. But what I would be confident in is that LeBron and AD are going to get after it again. And you're famous for playing those guys together at times. And I think this is a situation where you could go back to that well, play them both together, stack this game. Um, the question is then what you do on the Portland side. I don't know if you can pay up for Lillard as well. So then it's a question of who else are you going to get from the Portland side. For me, I'm going back to the well with Wenyen Gabriel. Assuming he starts again, you're not that surprised.
No, I actually am surprised.
Are you really?
To be honest with you, especially with the emergence of this Whiteside Nurkic 4-5 combo.
Well, the thing is, they have a short rotation. Wenyen Gabriel only played 15 minutes, but he had 5 fouls. He was off to a great start in the first 4 minutes.
But when you're young and inexperienced,
yeah,
you get stupid fouls. You make stupid plays. That's part of being young. And that dude is raw as all get out. Now, I don't mean to be, counterpoint with you, but it's just, I think it is a GPP play all the way. But if you believe in this guy, hey, who am I to argue? You were the one that supported Michael Porter Jr. I just think this against the Lakers front line in a scenario where you see Stotts may go Whiteside, Nurkic, I just find it hard to find a spot for him. But I support you and I'll be rooting for him.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I mean, he's no Michael Porter Jr. in terms of offensive talent. He can shoot. I mean, he is athletic. He can score. I think eventually he'll be a very productive player. And you're right, it's a tough spot for him as a young player, but he can't really do any worse in terms of the fouls and getting into foul trouble. And he's so athletic and talented. If he's just out there, he's going to get some rebounds. He's going to get some dunks. You saw that monster dunk when he did the chin up. And then right after that, he got his second foul, and then we barely saw him the rest of the game. So it's just one of those situations where it's all about the price and the opportunity. And he's just out there on the court. He's going to accumulate some fantasy points. So, if you're going to play LeBron, AD, and or Harden, you need multiple guys like this in the 3K range. So, that's why it makes sense to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess really what it comes down to on this card, and this is what we have to be realistic about. Everybody wants to roster Harden. Everybody wants to roster Giannis, Dame, AD, and LeBron. Well, guess what? I can't figure out a build to have more than one of those guys in there. So, and I'm just, so I want to be real with our listeners, because to me, those 6 guys are, heads above the guys that have this 75 fantasy point plus potential. But the way that this pricing is done, unless you're really truly going to roll the dice with multiple Gabriels, like 4 Gabriels, you're going to have to, choose really the best guy and then supplement them with some of those guys that are just the level below them, whether it be the TJ Warrens or Vukovic's or, any of those guys. But it's going to be a really hard build. I messed with this quite a while before we came on, because usually you can get away with stacking a little bit and getting a couple of value guys and making it work. But they price these guys so high. When you're looking at Harden at 11.7, Lillard at 11, James at 10.9, you're talking about, some big numbers. And those are just the point guards. You throw in Giannis at 11.3 and Davis at 10.5. It's impossible. So, it's going to be, to me, and if you're listening to this, take note of this. You've got to find the mid-level guys that you can pop in there that are going to get it done for you. And I'm talking about, I'll just throw names out there. These will be the key guys that if Covington bounces back, Dragic, a Carmelo, Steven Adams, a Tyler Hero as a play, a Brook Lopez, all of these kind of guys, even a Chris Middleton and a Brogdon fall into that range. And then maybe a Bam. That's the high level. But then after that, when you start getting up there with Butler and Paul and TJ Warren and Nurkic, you're really not doing yourself much favor in the salary piece. So my advice in this is, choose your one big star, find like 3 of those guys that can still crush it in the middle level, and then a couple value plays without having to dumpster dive. Because I can tell you right now, I guarantee you this is going to happen. You're going to see people trying to smash these big names in there, and they're going to be filling out their rosters with Gabriel, Ferguson, Clark, McConnell, Noel, Dwight Howard, McLemore, DiVincenzo. And you know what? All of those guys that I just mentioned could have 10 fantasy points and sink you. So that's all I want. That's my real feel for this card is be careful going stars and scrubs, because even if those guys, a couple of them get you 75, if you have 2 guys with 10 on the board, you're dead. So just a thought.
Yeah, I hear you. And I do have a lineup built on DraftKings with 2 of those stars that you mentioned and a handful of Gabriels. And the key to me is going to be the Orlando news. If Gordon is out, then I feel great about this lineup. If he plays, it's back to the drawing board. Probably have to get one of those studs on the bench and get a little bit more balanced.
Awesome, man. I'll tell you, it's intriguing. I think of the slates thus far in the playoffs so far, I think this is the toughest one because of the pricing and because you feel like, there's going to be a lot of people that say, I can't not roster Harden or I can't not roster on, Giannis. So I get it. It's just building out that team is so key. And I'll tell you, that makes all the difference in the world. Like today, we made a lot of money because, some of those mid-level guys, they weren't dumpster dive guys, but guys like, O'Neal that we stuck with, he ended up, playing ball today, got almost 40 fantasy points and smashed it. So you get guys like that hit it right. You can do well, but if you're rolling the dice on multiple guys like that, man, you've really, you need to go play the lotto because you got the same chances, I think. So who knows? Who knows? Somebody will tweet me a lineup with a bunch of scrubs that win it and say, "See, coach, it could be done." But more power to you. I hope you can do it.
Yeah.
All right, couple of things. Follow us on Twitter. You can follow all of us at DFS Coach Talk. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. He is at Language Olympic, and then our man Sugar Shane, who had some nice wins today. Big props to Sugar Shane and you, Andrew. You guys crushed it today. Shane is at DET Sports Shane. And then our man Freddie Mills, if you're playing golf and you're still awake or you're getting up early in the morning and you hear this, please read Freddie's. He has the best content in golf that I've seen. I'm serious. It's Freddie Mills 7. That's FreddieMills 7. So check us out on there. YouTube, if you're watching this again, I gave a big talk early on, and it's important to us. If you're watching us, take that extra second, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, hit the alarm so that you know when our podcast posts. On Instagram, we're DFS_Coach Talk. And if you want to become a member and get all of our access to all of our sports, we don't go with each individual sport. You get the whole deal in our main chat with the best community in the industry. You go to dfscoachtalk.com and you can sign up for as little as $25 to get the ball rolling for you for the first week. Also, our charity of choice here at DFS Coach Talk is mambaon3.org, MAMBAONTHREE.org. Wonderful charity. And also tomorrow we'll be announcing, I'm so excited about it, we're going to do a really special thing on 8/24, which comes up very soon. We'll be, that'll come up here at the end of the week, or beginning Monday. So in honor of Kobe. So we're really excited about that. All right, man. Any last words?
Can't wait to see how this Wenyen Gabriel plays out. My goal is if we can get a Gabriel bounce back like Royce O'Neal, then we're going to be in good shape.
Dude, one thing I'll tell you, man, you've got the set. I'll post the squirrel with the big set on our Discord just because you're going with Gabriel. So I'm hoping for you. I really am. I definitely will be rooting. All right, we are set. We're good to go. I hope everybody crushes it tomorrow. We have MLB that we'll be posting. Our PGA is already up. And then we'll be back again for the NBA again tomorrow. So thank you so much for giving us the time to spend with us to go over this. Hopefully you find it helpful and you crush some of your lineups on any of the sites you're playing. Remember, my builds are generally cash builds and Andrew's more of a GPP player. So hopefully you got a good feel for both of them here. So we want to kill it tomorrow. It's been awesome. NBA has been terrific. Hooray for the Mavericks tonight, crushing one. And we'll jump back at it tomorrow as we watch NBA basically around the clock. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll join with you again tomorrow as we look to crush it in NBA DFS.